Ippo's journey from national to world rank level involves facing other national champions from the Pacific region. These include the Thai, Philippine and Indonesian featherweight champions, along with another title defense against a former lightweight boxer. Ippo fought these champions to climb the world rankings, especially after his anticipated match with Miyata has been cancelled, with Miyata now set to unify the OPBF title against Randy Boy Jr. Ippo's ultimate goal became challenging Ricardo Martinez once he achieved a high ranking. Meanwhile, the other Kamogawa gym members aim to catch up to Ippo and Takamura, with Itagaki's potential finally unleashed as he ascended to the nation's top featherweight rank. This journey began with Ippo's challenge against the Thai featherweight champion Scratch J Jimmy Sisfa. The Kamogawa boys returned from their training camp and were surprised to learn that Ippo would be having another match soon. At this point, Itagaki was forbidden from sparring with Ippo, as Ippo would be facing powerhouses in the near future, and the concern was for Itagaki to avoid sustaining damage from sparring with him. It was revealed that Jimmy Sisfa is the same guy Miyata fought and developed the jolt counter against, as seen in both in the anime and the manga. Ever since the match, Jimmy has become somewhat unhinged, having fought a total of 45 times with only 7 losses. He averaged almost 9 fights per year, and it shows. When his plane landed in Japan, the scars on his face were visible, hence his nickname Scratch J. The moment he arrived, he was baffled by the Japanese people and remembered his fight with Miyata, and was yapping about the Fist of God. At the weigh-ins, Jimmy's presence intimidated Ippo so much that he hid behind Kamogawa. When it was revealed that this fight was crucial for advancing on the world stage, Jimmy asked if Miyata would be watching. It was confirmed that there was a high possibility as Miyata saw Ippo as his rival. This answer invigorated Jimmy and he swore to KO Ippo with the hands of God. Later we learned that during this match with Miyata, Jimmy claimed to have seen God, who awarded him with the hands of God to become a great boxer. It's heavily hinted that Jimmy is suffering from brain damage, as his obsession with this god and his struggle to put words together are apparent, so I can't help but to feel bad for him. On the day of the fight, Kamogawa's strategy was to stop Jimmy from getting too close to Ippo by not allowing him to charge. Ippo was ready to comply, but when the match began, Jimmy took a few steps back and charged at Ippo with full speed dash. This single punch drove Ippo into the corner, and Jimmy charged again right into the corner and gave Kamogawa a jump scare. Ippo realized that he was fighting against a wild boar and needed to adjust. However, all he could do was block while Jimmy kept delivering powerful punches and dashing back to repeat the pattern. Ippo had to adapt quickly and decided to charge in faster to land quicker blows. He started landing liver shots and solid hits to put Jimmy at a disadvantage, but Jimmy twisted his body and used all his weight to deflect Ippo's fists. He was mimicking Miyata's jolt counter but with his own spin, calling it the Tornado Jolter. He used the move against and actually hit Ippo, making Ippo do a full backflip and crash into the mat. The ref, however, called it a slip as Ippo and Jimmy's fists crossed, essentially causing Jimmy to lift Ippo. Somehow this freaking ref sees an impossible to see a high caliber slip, but can't see obvious fouls even the crowd is able to catch, like the mod match that was Mashiba vs Aokimura. In the second round, Ippo charged at Jimmy again, landing solid blows. Jimmy went for another Thunder Jolt, which Ippo dodged, but it was just a setup for a follow-up jolter from the other arm. Ippo took that hit head on, barely surviving it, but reassured Kamogawa that he was fine. Ippo had to come up with something, so he decided to attack Jimmy when he was wide open, right when Jimmy was throwing a punch. Both exchanged blows, with Ippo on the verge of giving up, while Jimmy was dashing right into Ippo's corner. But just in time, Ippo collapsed right into his chair as the bell rang. That was very nice too. Kamogawa wanted Ippo to continue just to pressure and throw hands like wild cavemen. Meanwhile, Takamura scissors Aoki's eyes. The round began and both charged at each other. Jimmy first jolted Ippo's fist away, but Ippo also put all his weight into his leg, and both punched each other's fists, sending shockwaves through the arena. Ippo continued his strategy, and Jimmy realized that Ippo was also throwing jolts now. But not only that, Ippo threw multiple jolts, building momentum from the previous jolt. Jimmy was now getting overwhelmed, and both had a close infight where Ippo threw heavy punches until the round ended. Kamogawa saw Ippo's potential to do something unique with the jolts, so he ordered Ippo to combine the jolt into an uppercut to finish Jimmy off, which Ippo accepted. Jimmy was not about to give up either, as he wanted to take his god all the way to the world stage. So when the round began, both were again in a close infighting contest. Jimmy threw the jolts like crazy while Ippo dodged and used his dodging momentum to throw a jolt uppercut, which didn't connect and both men's heads collided. Now they were both covered in blood and Ippo couldn't see, so Jimmy took this opportunity and threw a jolt which almost sent Ippo down, until Ippo literally saw the god in the lights. Ippo Ippo came back to his senses and we get to see the coolest ending sequence to a fight and our first tease of the diagonal Dempsey roll that Ippo would use in the near future. Ippo threw another jolt and used the momentum to transition into the Dempsey roll, as he would later do in the story. Jimmy tried to counter with one last jolt, but Ippo dodged it, used the Dempsey roll momentum to perform a jolt counter uppercut, and from the lights saw the god, who was Kamogawa with the mitts, ready to hit the target with a devastating uppercut, which tore Ippo's leg muscles and sent Jimmy flying down to the mat for good. It only took one punch from this proto-diagonal Dempsey roll to finish off an opponent who otherwise didn't budge to any of Ippo's attacks. This is the very first time we see this evolved state of the Dempsey roll that Ippo will develop in the future, where he uses his momentum to throw uppercuts and transition back into the Dempsey roll. It is a nice teaser. Jimmy then got back up and saw Ippo for the last time. When he woke up, he noted that he had seen the devil himself and no longer wanted to box, saying he was going to retire. He also said it was God who gave Ippo his last bit of strength to finish him off. This was also the fight where Ippo got his nickname, Fujin, meaning the god of wind. Characters like Kamogawa and Takamura realized Ippo's newest potential with the free roam Dempsey roll and how destructive it could be to finish off his opponents like Miyata. But unfortunately, we won't see any improvement on the Dempsey roll for another 300 chapters. On his way back home, Ippo also accepted that he might never fight Miyata and needed to go his own path to greatness. After the fight, Ippo was fishing when Kumi appeared and asked him out to go on a swimming date with her. Ippo would have gone, but he had cuts, bruises and torn muscles that needed to heal up first. Kumi also expressed her frustrations about always looking after Mashiba, saying he's reckless, aggressive all the time and puts so much pressure on things at home. She just wants Mashiba to make it back home safely and told Ippo that she feels relaxed when she's around him. Back at the gym, all the other boxers were preparing for their upcoming fights for the Takamura's main event title defense. Meanwhile, Takamura was busy coming up with a new punch for himself. He wanted to create his own signature punch named after an animal like the other Kamogawa boys. Since he is the king of all animals, he settled on the name Beetle Punch. However, his new punch was just an uppercut which the boys made fun of. On the day of the fight, all the Kamogawa boxers won their match via a KO and Takamura entered the ring dressed like a beetle. He went into the title defense intending to land a beetle punch no matter what, but ended up accidentally hitting his opponent with an old punch and KOing him anyway. Afterward, Ippo sent a letter to Nekota talking about the gym and his hopes moving up to the world stage. Nekota responded by sending the Kamogawa gym some leaves, which will be important later, don't forget, along with a poem for all the Kamogawa boys and a personal poem for Ippo, saying Ippo's fists are as strong as heavyweights. Miyata had another match where he demolished his opponent, further solidifying that the Ippo vs Miyata fight won't happen anytime soon, as both of them moved on. Miyata also set his sights to fight the interim OPBF champion to unify both belts, and mentions that counters will be useless against him. And the interim OPBF champion is, you guessed it, the menacing man that confronted Miyata and gave his fate speech, Randy Boy Jr. Ippo also reveals to Itagaki that he has moved on and tries to find new goals by moving up to the world stage. Itagaki, however, confronted Ippo about his lackluster goals, saying Ippo should not be satisfied with the intent of having a good match and just enter a ring with the mentality to win, since a lot of people look up to him, including Itagaki. Both men are then interrupted by the little chiz Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi promised to Ippo a world title fight if he defeats the interim OPBF champion Randy Boy Jr., in which Ippo refused, stating that Miyata is the one going to fight him and he should not interfere. Then that little shiz heinously mentions that Miyata has no chance in hell since counters will be useless against Randy Boy Jr. and that fate will only repeat itself. Ippo wanted to learn more about that Randy fellow, so he wanted to watch some archived tapings of his and met up with Fuji. Miyata Sr. coincidentally also wanted to research Randy Boy Jr. the exact same time, so they both analyzed who he really is. They saw that Randy is a southpaw and thought that the reason why Miyata stated counters are useless against him is because he never faced a southpaw and had no experiences with them. However, in the tape fight, when the opponent went for a perfect counter, Randy himself landed a perfect straight that should not be possible if he's a southpaw. They came to the realization that Randy is both an orthodox and a southpaw and just shifts his stances whenever he chooses, making it impossible to land a direct counter. Miyata Sr. then had a panic attack and also realized why Miyata is so obsessed with Randy. It is because the boxer that ended Miyata Sr.'s career is the father of Randy Boy Jr. He ended it the exact same way, where Randy Boy Sr. just switch-hitted Miyata Sr. to cancel his counter and end his career. Miyata would not let that slide and wanted to prove that his father's boxing was not for nothing and wants to bring it all the way to the world stage, but first needs to finish off Rainy Boy Jr. for vengeance. Back at the gym, Maron appears. Cool. Who's Maron? He's a freelance trainer and the boys just accept him just walking into the gym and training them. He then disses Kamogawa of how whack they are. So Ippo was not going to let that one slide and wanted to mid-train with Maron. Maron of course could not keep up with Ippo and stumbled outside the ring. Takamura then appeared and was happy to see Maron and reveals that Maron was a boxer of the gym before anyone else joined and was Takamura's sparring partner, and due to the injuries Takamura inflicted, he chickened out of becoming a pro boxer. Aokimura went after him and then gave him a good beating. At the gym, the boys learn that Kamogawa has been arrested. Ippo and Yagi go to get him released and discover that Kamogawa went to visit a coach buddy of his to gather information about Ippo's next opponent, since one of the coach's boxers had recently fought him. However, Kamogawa got enraged for some reason and started beating the coach up. They learned that the fight was fixed, meaning they paid the opponent hush money to take a loss. The opponent is none other than the Filipino featherweight champion, the magician Malcolm Gedo. The Japanese boxer that Malcolm had a fixed loss against approached the Kamogawa gym, wanting to prove that he wasn't a fraud. He was ranked 7th in the nation, but Ippo knocked him down with a single punch. The guy was too proud to accept a fake victory over a world-ranked boxer, but deep down he knew it was all staged. He wanted Ippo to redeem them by defeating Malcolm. Ippo analyzed Malcolm's matches and something seemed off about him. Somehow, despite being almost the same size as Ippo, he could throw punches from a far distance. There was some conflict over whether Ippo should face Gedo, but both Ippo and Kamogawa were determined to fight him. Back at the gym, Takamura was beating up Aoki with Kamogawa's cane until he accidentally hit Kamogawa with it. Gedo's camp wanted to negotiate with Ippo's team about the fight, but they only cared about the money and didn't even know who Ippo was or what his achievements were. This enraged Kamogawa and he decided that Ippo needed special training to make Gedo pay. Ippo was invited to Mashiba's gym to spar with him in preparation for Gedo's unusual long-range punches, since Mashiba naturally has a long reach. Initially, both Ippo and Mashiba didn't want to fight each other, since Ippo is scared of Mashiba while Mashiba hates his guts. But since Mashiba needed a suitable sparring partner for his OPBF title fight after his suspension ends, Ippo was the perfect choice. So, the rematch of the decade finally happens. Mashiba unleashes the flicker jabs, now with an improved reach. Ippo weaves in, gets within Mashiba's range and delivers a liver blow. Mashiba retaliates, leading Ippo into a trap and landing a devastating uppercut. Ippo, now determined, unleashes the Dempsey roll right there. Mashiba tries to keep Ippo at a distance, but Ippo closes the gap and lands the Dempsey roll on Mashiba's body. As Mashiba lowers his guard, Ippo lands a headshot, but Mashiba counters with another uppercut. Both fighters are beaten up but ready to keep going until the scene cuts to Mashiba angrily taking a shower, frustrated by the injuries Ippo inflicted on him, while Ippo admits defeat. The next day, Malcolm Gedo personally visits the Kamogawa gym to negotiate the prize money. He manages to get under Kamogawa's skin, leading Kamogawa to bet 1 million yen and then 2 million yen in a winner-takes-all match, which would be around $35,000 in today's money. Ippo and Gedo finally come face to face, but Gedo doesn't even recognize who Ippo is and calls him a boy before leaving the building. The disrespect towards the Kamogawa gym was mounting, and it was starting to frustrate everyone. At the weigh-ins, Ippo was in a good shape, while Gedo didn't make the cut and demanded Kamogawa to pay more if he wanted Gedo to make the weight. So Gedo took off his clothes and was ready to fight. While Gedo was undressed, we see that the guy has gunshot wounds, meaning he really is into some dirty business. On top of the 2 million yen, Kamogawa also bet 500,000 yen of his own money to raise the stakes. When Ippo went to check out the ring, he saw Gedo, and there Ippo said how much of a piece of work Gedo really is. Gedo revealed that he had a business with pickpocketing and as a result got shot multiple times but survived. In the ring he feels safe, scamming other boxers, sabotaging matches and betting with money. Ippo was visibly furious, and on top of all the money, he also bet 500,000 yen. This meant if Gedo won, he would get 3 million yen, which is about $52,000. Ippo then realized that he didn't have 500,000 yen on the hand and asked the boys to bring him money. Itagaki gave 50,000, Aokimura gave a total of 300,000, while Mr. World Champion gave 30 yen. Both Aoki and Kimura revealed that they stole it from their registry investors, which put even more pressure on Ippo. If he lost, he wouldn't be able to pay his friends back. In the ring, Gedo gave Ippo one last chance to fix the match, letting Ippo win while Gedo would take more money, which made Ippo even more furious. When the match began, Ippo charged right at him and started to throw hands, managing to down Gedo in the first few seconds of the match. Of course, Gedo got back up from the knockdown. Ippo charged at Gedo again, but Gedo extended his arms. Ippo responded with another punch, but Gedo suddenly vanished and was chilling in the corner. Ippo tried to charge back at him, but Gedo used the same trick, and this time Ippo actually slipped. Ippo refocused and was now able to see through Gedo, but he still couldn't land a punch. Ippo stuck with the same strategy until Coach Kamogawa gave the order to look at Gedo's feet. Now Ippo could follow Gedo and deliver a body blow right as the round ended. In the second round, Ippo focused on Gedo's feet again, but Gedo extended his arms and stopped Ippo from dashing into him. Throughout the round, Ippo tried to step in, but Gedo kept him at bay until the end, feeling satisfied with himself. Kamogawa suggested to Ippo to aim a dual exchange to at least hurt Gedo. So in the third round, Ippo charged like a wild boar and almost hit Gedo's stupid face. Ippo landed some light hits while also tanking Gedo's jabs. Ippo eventually got into Gedo's reach and wanted to throw hands, but Gedo pulled an uppercut out of nowhere that shocked the whole crowd. Even Coach Kamogawa looked concerned about what Ippo should do next. This pattern continued for several rounds. Each time Ippo tried to get close, Gedo just jabbed him away, preventing Ippo from closing the distance. This went until the 6th round, where Ippo had taken so much damage he was getting sluggish. The Kamogawa boys were now getting concerned that Ippo might lose the bout, so Aoki analyzed the heck out of Gedo and actually figured out Gedo's magic trick. Itagaki came down and gave a weird riddle about the trick, and Kamogawa had to explain it to Ippo. When the round ended, Ippo fell into the chair. Kamogawa told Ippo to keep using the same strategy, but now he needed to watch his own neck and hit harder. Kamogawa failed to explain Gedo's trick clearly, which was just Gedo loosening his gloves so he could extend his reach. This didn't make much sense since Ippo had fought long-range opponents in the past and just had a spar with Mashiba, but anyway, Ippo tried to get closer again and succeeded by imagining Kamogawa holding his neck, which helped him to get close enough to Gedo. Ippo then needed to immobilize Gedo, so he unconsciously threw a heartbreak shot that Date used, stopping Gedo from moving. He followed it up with the most devastating punch of the fight, where Ippo almost pulverized Gedo's stupid face. Ippo was now moving in and Gedo felt intimidated. Ippo charged in and delivered two powerful body blows, but Gedo jabbed him, and that was enough to send Ippo into an almost unconscious state. After piling up all the damage, Ippo could barely move. He survived the round but accidentally sat on Gedo's corner. Kamogawa tried to revive Ippo by placing ice cold hands on his face, which actually worked, and Ippo was ready to give his best in the next round. However, Gedo transitioned from jabs to straights and started landing heavy punches on Ippo. It was getting so bad that Kamogawa ordered Yagi to throw in the towel, but just as Yagi was about to do it, Ippo suddenly dodged. Kamogawa grabbed the towel and Ippo, now getting used to Gedo's style, threw another body blow. Ippo wasn't letting Gedo get away and unleashed a flurry of punches, landing a devastating liver blow that sent Gedo to the mat. Gedo got back up, comparing the situation to being crucified, with Ippo firing cannon shots at him. Gedo tried his best to keep Ippo away, but Ippo just blasted his fists anyway. Gedo, in his infinite stupidity, thought it would be a good idea to challenge Ippo to an all-out brawl, and of course, he got hammered. Ippo was practically punching dead meat at this point, as Gedo slowly and questionably slid down to Ippo, his broken down body collapsing flat to the mat, ending the match. Ippo's face was swollen, so when they went to see the doctor, they ran into Gedo. Kamogawa gave Gedo the reward money he would have normally received if it had been a standard non-betting fight. Gedo accepted it and revealed that he would continue scamming other boxers in the future. He also warned Ippo and Kamogawa about the real monster, the OPBF interim champion Randy Boy Jr. The next day, Aoki, Itagaki and Kimura felt left out since Ippo and Takamura were literally carrying the gym, so Shinoda gave them the opportunity to join the Class A tournament, where the winner gets a shot at the national title. The following day, Itagaki brought new members to the gym, and together with Ippo, they watched their pro test. In the hall, they saw Karasawa and Saeki, two of Ippo's previous opponents, who revealed that they plan to join the Class A tournament too, aiming to challenge Ippo for the title. This meant that Itagaki will would have to fight Ippo's former opponents, and to add salt to the wounds, neither of these men even knew who Itagaki was, despite him being ranked 8th. Itagaki wouldn't let them pass to fight his senpai and became even more motivated. The next day, Kumi wanted Ippo to watch Mashiba's return fight with her, since she's still too afraid to watch another one of her brother's matches after the Takamura fight. By the way, the new prospect that Ippo and Itagaki had watched during their pro license test quit, and Aokimura clowned Itagaki for it. Randy Boy Jr. finally arrived in Japan and crushed all his sparring partners, desperately needing a suitable one. So Itagaki, eagerly to prove himself, volunteered to spar with a world-ranked champion. Ippo went with Itagaki and gave Randy some seriously intimidating looks. The spar began and Randy threw jabs which focused Itagaki dodged with ease. He even managed to hit Randy a few times, forcing Randy to take him seriously. Then suddenly the scene cut to Itagaki face down to the mat, wondering what just happened. Itagaki quickly got back up and maintained his rhythm, only to realize that Randy had shifted his stance to southpaw and easily countered Itagaki while he was throwing a punch. Sakaguchi then laughed at how pathetic Itagaki looked, saying that after they were done with Miyata they would aim to challenge Ricardo Martinez. But Randy was too distracted by Ippo's presence and wanted to spar with him. Ippo saw the opportunity to fight the boxer who had taken his rival away and entered the ring. He was so close to greatness seeing an actual match, but that little shiz interfered and called off the spar, saying it would be bad if a world-ranked Ippo hurt Randy, who was set to fight Miyata soon, and they then left. Imai then appeared, revealing that he had sparred with Miyata alongside another southpaw boxer but couldn't lay a scratch on Miyata's pretty face at all. This still gives hope that Miyata might actually pull off a win. Back at the gym, it was revealed that Miyata's match would be on the undercard for Takamura's title defense. Takamura also sparred with 3 guys in the ring and crushed them. Also, the headline for Miyata's and Randy Boy Jr.'s match was Asura versus the Lighting God. Asura is the demon god with 3 heads and 6 arms in all directions, while the Lighting God is self-explanatory. We see that the word god doesn't really suit with Miyata though, as he needs to cut so much weight that he's thin to the bones and has no shape or form to last long rounds. But this didn't stop them from the spars, and they needed a better infighter than Imai. So the logical sparring partner was Ippo, but since Kamogawa wouldn't allow it, it had to be another world-ranked infighter. Sendo met up with Takamura, who had stitches all over his face and could no longer drive his motorcycle anymore. And Sendo was making a trip around Japan and aimed to beat up every boxer just for the lols. So the only 2 boxers in the country remaining were Mashiba and Miyata, and went together with Takamura to Tokyo. Sendo first made his way to the Kamogawa gym to announce he is on an ass-kicking spree, then went on his way to Miyata's gym. Ippo followed them after and sneakily watched through the windows the whole confrontation. Sendo jokingly threw a punch at Miyata. In exchange, Miyata threw a glove at him. They got ready to spar in the ring, with Sendo just charging at him, only to get jabbed back. Sendo tried to smash Miyata, but Miyata casually countered the smash. Sendo got dominated in the first round, but that was all according to his plan. In the second round, he went closer without a guard to dodge Miyata's punches easier, and threw motionless jabs at Miyata, which managed to corner him and then land his big guns. Sendo managed to get decent hits on Miyata, but the spar ended with Miyata dodging the last punch and calling it quits. Takamura, Aokimura and Miyata had the weigh-ins, and the next day Aokimura lost their fights. Miyata's fight was next, and for this fight, Sendo and Takamura were also watching alongside Ippo and Itagaki. When Miyata's long-awaited match began against RBG, he was not giving him a second to find his footing. Miyata just charges at him with his outboxing and does not give RBG a chance to catch his breath. Even when Randy used the switch hit technique, Miyata just punched him away. Whatever Randy tried to do, Miyata dodged all of his attacks and punished him with counters for it. In the second round, Randy tried to take the advantage since Miyata is on his weight management and does not have the unlimited stamina. But Miyata still dominated him and even downed Randy that round. In the third round, Miyata still continued his domination with counters and sliding in fast, but RBG just sent a punch of his own that actually connected. But soon after this punch, Miyata just unleashed a flurry of punches until the end of the round. In the next round, Miyata still continued to land fast jabs on Randy, until Randy says that he has recovered and charges into Miyata's jabs and lands powerful lower body shots. This continued until the end of the round, with Miyata countering Randy and Randy landing liver blow until Miyata's rib cages began to break down. In the next round, Randy continued with this strategy, and Miyata was just eating all these body shots until his rib cage was getting shattered. blocked. Miyata was still trying his best to dodge, which he was still able to do, so Randy went into his Asura mode, where he had his eyes wide open and reacting to all counters. Miyata still tried his best, but all the damage piled up and he was going down on his own until the bell rang. When the next round began, Miyata tried to evade Randy, but Randy was not gonna let Miyata go anymore, and he was now the one dominating Miyata and blasted the poor boy until Miyata went down. Of course, Miyata got back up and was trying his best to not go down until the end of the round. In the last round, Miyata got hammered all the way and went down, doing several backflips. When he got back up, he was aiming for a perfect counter and delivered it, and now Randy went down. Of course, he got back up and refused to lose to somebody like Miyata, so Miyata decided to unleash the biggest ass pull in the entire series. Miyata developed a special counter that is faster than light and hit Randy Boy Jr. before sound erupted through the arena, a punch he calls red lighting, and ultimately wins the match. Ippo was mesmerized by the fight and ultimately felt happy for Miyata. Backstage, Randy Boy Jr. also accepted that he lost and was now relieved that he faced off against the son of the boxer his father died fighting. Which yes, Randy Boy Jr.'s father died after Miyata Sr.'s fight. Right now he cut all ties with Sakaguchi. At last it was Takamura's match, and of course he won easily via KO. On his way back he accidentally knocked out Sakaguchi too, which leads to the end of Miyata's story arc for the rest of the manga. The following day Ippo did his usual road work and ran into Kumi. They planned to meet up for Mashiba's comeback fight and had a conversation going until Ippo scared her and she fell onto a cardboard box. They had a massive stare down and almost smooch at the moment until the Kamogawa boys caught up to Ippo and Kumi slipped down the hill. Ippo felt like he achieved something and compared the situation to infighting with Ricardo Martinez, feeling very satisfied, while Kumi was just disappointed that they didn't kiss and got frustrated by the slightest mention of the word slip. On the day of Mashiba's comeback fight, Karasawa and Saeki were also there and the audience to watch Itadaki's match. Itagaki won via KO, and next was Mashiba's comeback match for the OPBF Lightweight Championship. We see that Mashiba's co-workers came to support him and even created a fan club dedicated to him. Mashiba dominated the champion until the champ started blatantly cheating during the fight, which infuriated Mashiba and he almost cheated himself. But the crowd cheered for him so loudly that he subconsciously shifted his strategy, fought fairly and used the uppercut he developed to win the fight. The next day Ippo got news about the new champion he has to fight in the Pacific region. The next champion on the list was the Indonesian featherweight champion, who was practically unknown. The only information they had on him was that he only fought 3 matches and a video depicting an Indonesian island where Ippo's opponent briefly appeared. Then we get introduced to Wally, a boy who grew up with monkeys and adapted their way of living, possessing the mobility, agility and the instincts of a monkey. His trainer is also the same trainer who trained Hawk and was the soldier that raised Kamogawa's fist after his victory against Anderson, indicating his importance in the story. Before coming to Japan, they made a detour to New York for a spar against Walk, who was world ranked first in the junior lightweight division. During that spar, Wally gave Walk a real challenge, so much so that Walk and his coach needed to call Coach Kamogawa and Ippo to let them know that Wally is no joke and under no circumstances should he be allowed near the corner, as this is where he has the most freedom. On the day of the weigh-ins, it appeared that Wally was having the time of his life getting to meet Ippo, as according to him, Ippo will show him the greatness of boxing and how much fun it could be. It is evident that Wally does not take the sport that seriously and views it as a means to have fun. That is why on the day of the fight, in the first round of the match, Ippo already scored a knockdown on him. But Wally's coach understood that Ippo would give him a hard time in this fight, so he yelled out freedom, prompting Wally to make a complete 180 in his boxing stance and start dodging Ippo's punches like he's in the Matrix. At first glance, Wally's boxing style was almost reminiscent of Hawk's style, with his dodges and punches coming from seemingly impossible angles. However, he then began to incorporate moves like the smash and flicker jabs into his arsenal, showcasing that he not only emulates Hawk but also adds real boxing techniques to his arsenal. Then Ippo's and Kamogawa's strategy was to corner Wally, even though both of them had been warned not to do so by Walk and Daneki. Nonetheless, they proceeded and almost succeeded in cornering Wally. However, something really weird happened. fight. Wally used the ropes to levitate and pulled himself back quickly, surprising Ippo by repeatedly punching him. He did this too many times during the fight, making it feel unnatural and unrealistic. Wally jumped high, used the ropes as his advantage, and could even drift punch Ippo unconscious. Wally repeated these maneuvers throughout multiple chapters, seemingly pulling these moves out of thin air, and Ippo could do nothing to counter them. Eventually, by chance, Ippo managed to corner Wally and thought it was his chance to finally inflict some damage on him. However, he should have listened to Walk's advice and ended up being knocked unconscious by Wally's unorthodox boxing style. It was only after Ippo was knocked out cold that he suddenly remembered Walk's words about not cornering Wally. Ippo's and Kamogawa's strategy then shifted to targeting Wally's midsection to slow him down and create openings for counterattacks. However, Wally saw through the strategy and continued dominating Ippo without Ippo laying a hand on him. It became so effortless for Wally to land punches on Ippo that he was getting bored and engaged in a slugfest with him. In a moment of desperation, Ippo managed to land a slight blow on Wally, further enraging him. Although it seemed futile to inflict any damage at all, their next goal was to do whatever it took to make even the smallest impact on Wally's lower body. Wally anticipated their strategy and increased his speed, and on the process denies all laws of physics as he relentlessly pummeled Ippo. The situation grew increasingly dire for Ippo, who was on the verge of losing consciousness but continued enduring the punishment in a desperate attempt to win against Wally. It was getting so bad that Kamogawa almost threw in the towel, only to hesitate when he saw Ippo's determination to win. In the next round, Ippo realized he couldn't endure any more punishment and decided to unleash all his strength in the hopes of landing a lucky punch on Wally. Fortunately, the accumulated taps Ippo had delivered to Wally throughout the round started to take their toll, hindering Wally's footwork. This allowed Ippo to catch up to him and land some solid punches. As Wally struggled to maintain his composure against Ippo's overwhelming strength, he began to panic. However, when it came to exchanging blows, nobody could match Ippo's power, leaving Wally overwhelmed and ultimately saved by the bell. It became evident that Ippo had indeed made an impact on Wally's body, as his footwork was now completely compromised. In the final round, they continued to exchange blows until Wally found himself cornered and saw the opportunity to counter Ippo once again. Determined to finish the match, Ippo unleashed the Dempsey roll. Despite Wally's attempts to evade it, Ippo increased his speed to the maximum, preventing Wally from escaping, and delivered a powerful punch to immobilize him. In a last-ditch effort, Wally tried to counter Ippo, but failed and was knocked unconscious. Recognizing the severity of the situation, Wally's coach threw in the towel to prevent him from sustaining permanent damage, a decision Coach Kamogawa had hesitated to make. Ultimately, it was Ippo who collapsed at the end of the fight, while Wally walked away with his head held high, smiling at an unconscious Ippo. Coach Kamogawa and Miguel then met up again, and Miguel congratulated both of them by offering them some bananas. He was impressed by Ippo's determination to not give up and by his immense strength, but he also warned Kamogawa that this very determination and strength could be their ultimate downfall. He cautioned that they often rush headfirst into the fights without reconsidering their strategy or knowing when to give up. After this fight, we see Mari meeting up with Itagaki, and she drops something very interesting. She says that Ippo possesses things that Itagaki deeply desires: a girlfriend, power, and world ranking. Itagaki tries to play it off as something silly, but at the same evening, he has an inner crisis about people having expectations of him and wanting to reach Ippo's level. So he aimed to defeat Karasawa in the Class A tournament faster than it took Ippo to defeat him. The next fight was Itagaki vs Karasawa, and Itagaki tried to finish the fight as soon as possible. He was dominating throughout the first half of the first round until Karasawa shifted gears and managed to overwhelm Itagaki. In the second round, Itagaki was desperate to surpass Ippo, so he focused up and was moving in a little too fast. He threw endless jabs and went for a knockout, only to realize that Karasawa was already down. Not only had he won the fight, but he also defeated Karasawa faster than Ippo had. Ippo came backstage to congratulate Itagaki, who was sleeping on the bench, and then something very ominous happened. In an unconscious state, Itagaki maliciously reached out to Ippo until he snapped back to his senses and held himself back. Aokimura also had their matches and advanced further, with only 2 panels shown. We also see the previous Japanese lightweight champion Imae being part of the tournament, and he gets absolutely crushed in the first round by a newcomer, Iga, who has Maron as a second. That meant Iga is going to fight Aoki in the next match. The next day, Kimura was on his way back home and ran into a girl from his neighborhood that he takes care of from time to time, and promised that he would take her to the amusement park the next day. The boys were all at Kimura's house and wanted to celebrate their wins, so the conversation shifted to girls, and it turns out Kimura is the only single guy among them and never gets girls. The boys also discovered manga magazines and anime figures in Kimura's room that belong to that little girl, but they confused it with Kimura being a Diddy. Kimura then lied to the boys saying they belonged to his girlfriend so they would shut up and he wouldn't look like a loser. The next day, Itagaki asked Mari out to the amusement park, and this guy just did everything wrong that you could possibly do wrong on a date, like not giving the girl attention and making corny jokes. But the important thing is that Mari picked up on the fact that Itagaki aimed to defeat Karasawa faster than it took Ippo to beat him, and she wondered if he would do the same against Saeki. Right on time, Ippo and Kumi along with Aoki and Tomiko appeared, and they all discussed that Kimura might be Dr. Disrespect because he's a weird weep, and they called him. To their surprise, right when Kimura picked up the phone, he appeared with the little girl and lied again, saying he was with his girlfriend. Aoki did the right thing and called the cops on his childhood friend for being a weirdo. Kimura was detained, but he explained he just wanted to get some cupcakes, so he was released. It's been a while since Ippo last defended his title, as everyone in Japan feared facing him in the ring. However, this time he received a challenge from the ranked lightweight boxer who fully believed that he could defeat Ippo for the Japanese championship. Hisato Kojima, a heavy puncher type that could easily knock out his opponents in one punch. Still, he had a severe drawback in his boxing style that was holding him back, and that was his speed. During a sparring session against Miyata, Miyata noted that he couldn't possibly win against Ippo since he wasn't qualified enough to defeat a world-ranked monster like Ippo. Kojima laughed at Miyata for his foolish comments and claimed that he knew Ippo's biggest weakness, a secret known only to him. He asserted that he was the only one capable of exploiting this weakness to defeat Ippo. Later on, when Ippo and the Kamogawa boys attended a random boxing match, they randomly ran into Kojima, who was cheering for one of his kohais. Ippo introduced himself and wished him good luck for their upcoming fight. However, for absolutely no reason, Kojima started talking trash about Ippo's previous opponents, such as Sendo and Sawamura, two of Ippo's most formidable opponents. He claimed that they were nothing but jobbers, weak enough for Ippo to beat. According to Kojima, they lacked the brain and tactics to exploit Ippo's weakness, reiterating that he was the only one capable of defeating him using that weakness. While Kojima wouldn't stop talking about Ippo's weakness, Ippo gave him a cold look, angered by Kojima's disrespect towards his previous opponents, who had also trained hard for boxing. Ippo left with a bitter expression, clearly irritated by Kojima's stupid comments. The next day, in the boxing magazines, Ippo reads a comment about Kojima where he once again claims to know Ippo's weakness. He continues to trash talk not only Sendo and Sawamura but all of Ippo's opponents, stating that they lost because they were weak and unaware of the weakness. Ippo rightfully becomes even more enraged, commenting that this guy talks a lot and deserves a good beating. And Ippo's right in this. Why is Kojima so obsessed with Ippo's weakness and constantly trash talking his previous opponents? We then learn that Kojima is in fact a big fan of Ippo. He watches his tapes regularly, almost every day, and over time noticed that Ippo's boxing, though impressive and world-ranking material, has a weakness that nobody else noticed. Since Kojima himself felt the need to accomplish something in his boxing career and face his biggest boxing idol, he took it upon himself to challenge Ippo for the featherweight title by moving from lightweight to featherweight. Kojima is a hard hitter but, in contrast, very slow. So, what is this weakness that he believes only he can utilize to defeat Ippo? When asked the same question to Miyata, he stated that Ippo, despite being world ranked and an excellent boxer, has a weakness that could be his downfall. In each and every fight Ippo is involved in, he charges directly into his opponents without good footwork or strategy, like a truck driving towards a person. If utilized correctly, you can counter this with the right strategy, but countering a directly charging Ippo without a strategy would be suicide. That is what Kojima is aiming for. Since he possesses a powerful right hook, he believes that with Ippo charging right into him, he can counter him with a punch he claims to be equal to a 2-ton collision. But why does he continuously trash talk Ippo's previous opponents? On the day of the weigh-ins, we see Ippo in his best form due to his training in preparation for this title fight. Then we see Kojima almost dry up to the bones since he had to drop 2 weight classes. When asked about their upcoming fight, Ippo initially did not want to give a comment about it. However, Kojima, as always, began to talk shit about Ippo's previous opponents again. When he saw that it was not working as it used to, he began to talk trash about Coach Kamogawa instead, saying that whoever trained Ippo is doing a horrendous job and is the reason for Ippo's weakness. Ippo could no longer hold back and was visibly pissed. He warned Kojima about what is about to come in a fight tomorrow. On the day of the fight, Ippo initially seemed calm and relaxed, even though he was visibly annoyed every time he heard Kojima's trash talk. However, when it was time for him to go out and defend his title, he turned cold again, stating that he wouldn't take long for him to finish the fight. On the other side, we see that Kojima felt guilty deep down for always harassing Ippo with his stupid comments. He wanted Ippo to take him seriously during their build-up by angering him and training intensely, so Ippo would be in his best shape. And it worked. Ippo took it upon himself and trained for this match unlike all of his other matches. What Kojima did not expect was for Ippo to take it personally and enter that match full of rage, wanting to unleash all of his anger on Kojima. Takamura noticed that Ippo was looking to brawl with Kojima and abandon his usual boxing style, so he told Itagaki that he should warn Ippo to cool off and treat his fight like a boxing match. Instead of delivering this message to Ippo, Itagaki kept it for himself, wanting to see Ippo go all out in a fight for once. He always wondered what the serious Ippo would look like in the ring. So when the bell rang, both fighters were ready to beat each other up. But for a solid 1 minute and 3 real chapters, they both stood there looking at each other. If Kojima's plan of Ippo charging right at him did not come to fruition, he would have been screwed. Then he noticed that Ippo was charging up his muscles, preparing to deliver powerful punches when he moved in. Ippo started to weave in, but abandoned his peekaboo style and charged right into Kojima to knock him out. Everything went according to Kojima's plan, and Ippo took a direct 2-ton heavy collision from Kojima. At this point, everyone thought that it was over for Ippo. However, in Ippo's inner world, he saw his previous opponents that Kojima disrespected fading away. Along with them, Coach Kamogawa, whom Kojima talked mad trash about, also faded away. Ippo came back to his senses without going down and was ready to unleash a devastating blow on Kojima. Instead of dodging, moving away, or defending himself, Kojima stupidly accepted his fate and was ready to tank the upcoming punch. What that dumbass was not expecting was that the single punch unleashed Ippo's inner monster, sending Kojima flying across the ring. It was a one-punch first round KO for Ippo, and he was quickly taken backstage for the upcoming world title fight, where he was left alone and lost consciousness from the counter Kojima gave him. Next was Takamura's fight, and he was doing something different. He painted his bear fur white so it looked like a panda, only for the crowd to go ballistic and give him legitimate heat. It got so bad that they started to cheer for his opponent Peter Rabbitson to win the fight, which he was actually doing. Takamura tried again to end the fight as soon as possible by being reckless and throwing white punches that did not connect. It was the 12th round and Rabbit was leading with points. If Takamura did not KO him this round, he would lose the fight and his title. The crowd was just too brutal on Takamura. Even characters like Sendo and Data were roasting him, which Takamura could hear from the roaring crowd somehow. The crowd chanted Rabbitson's name, and he was baffled that the hometown boxer was getting booed. This gave him false self-confidence, and he got too eager and started to attack Takamura with heavy punches. He got too greedy and Takamura one-punched KO'd him, which infuriated the crowd, and Takamura was booed out of the building again. In a bar, Data, Mashiba, Sendo, Okita, Saeki and Kumi were discussing what a terrible performance Takamura displayed. What they didn't notice was Takamura was just sitting next to them and blocked the doors so they couldn't escape. Takamura kind of gave them a chance to redeem themselves by apologizing, only for a wasted AG Data to further roast him about how silly this panda costume looked. Takamura was ready to brawl with them, which a wasted Data accepted, and all the other characters had no other choice but to comply. They charged right at Takamura only for Sendo to fly away. All the other characters held Takamura for Data to land a finishing blow, only for the page to cut, where we see every character completely annihilated, especially Data. Ippo then helped Umazawa by drawing on his manga, but Ippo does more damage than helping him, and they both discuss the Class A tournament and how Itagaki is going to fight against Saeki. They also talk about Aokimura's upcoming bouts and how this might be their last chance to prove that they belong in the world of boxing. Takamura called Ippo over to show him something very important alongside with Wangpo, where Takamura jokes that Wangpo has gotten big. Takamura then showed the important thing, which first happened to be a movie Takamura likes to watch, and then an actual match of Aoki. Takamura noted that Aoki closes his eyes while receiving punches, which is not good and needs to be dealt with, and gives Ippo the responsibility of telling Aoki. Ippo couldn't bring himself to tell Aoki he has a fear of receiving punches, so he accidentally says to him, "You have gotten big." However, the next day Takamura told the other boys about Aoki's weakness and they mocked him by singing a silly song. They decided to resolve the issue by figuring out where Aoki's fear of punches came from, so Aoki got hypnotized and saw the tall man with a stupid haircut and thick eyebrows. Turns out Takamura is the reason for Aoki's fear of punches. The best way to overcome his fear was to face his trauma directly, with Takamura actually hitting him. They did this several times where Aoki almost literally died, and by the end of it, he was dead inside. With that, the Class A tournament finals finally arrived. Itadaki's goal was to surpass Ippo's time in defeating Saeki. When Itadaki's match began, he and Saeki were evenly matched, both demonstrating their speed and instincts in the ring in the first round. However, Itadaki noticed that Saeki wasn't using his right fist, which would become a problem if he decided to use it. Meanwhile, Takamura literally almost killed Ippo with an uppercut. Saeki also had a flashback of one last conversation with Karasawa, where Karasawa revealed that he retired from boxing and was unsatisfied with how he went out. In the second round, Saeki used his right fist and absolutely dominated Itadaki, even swelling his eye just like Ippo's fight with Saeki. When the round ended, Shinoda tried to calm Itadaki down by telling him to name animals that start with A. In the third round, Saeki's domination continued until Itadaki focused on animal names whilst shuffling. This strategy worked and he was now evading all of Saeki's punches. Itadaki even landed some decent hits on Saeki by the end of the round. Meanwhile, Takamura almost killed Ippo again. It was the fourth and final round, Itadaki's last chance to finish Saeki and surpass Ippo's time, so he gave everything he had to knock him down. Saeki wouldn't allow him to win, but his body eventually broke down and he was bombarded with lefts until he hit the mat. Saeki managed to get back up, but Itadaki landed one last blow and Saeki went down in the exact same fashion as his fight with Ippo. Itadaki once again managed to beat Ippo's time, making the victory all the sweeter. Next was Kimura's match and we skip straight to the result where he lost by decision. Aoki's fight against Iga followed and we see Aoki down on his knees. Iga was just following orders from Maron, who only wanted Iga to beat the crap out of Aoki. For 7 straight rounds, Aoki was toyed with, to the point where Takamura ordered that corner to throw in the towel, and they eventually did, leading to Aoki's loss. The Kamogawa boys were not pleased with what Maron did, so Takamura confronted him about why he let his boxer fight someone he could have easily ended the fight with earlier. Maron kept yapping and Iga even confronted Takamura. Takamura left saying he shouldn't be overconfident as another potential boxer might come around and destroy everything they have. Aoki got hospitalized and Takamura accidentally threw him out of the window. The boys wanted to visit Aoki to determine if Aokimura still wanted to continue to box. They entered the room and saw something they did not want to see: Aoki and Tomiko together. Kimura asked Aoki if he wanted to continue, to which Aoki replied that if Kimura continues, he will continue as well. Aoki also revealed that he now has a goal to exterminate Iga, since he never had the rival to look up before, and this finally motivated him to improve. Then we get a cut to Takamura, who had an inner monologue where he thought that it would be best if Aokimura retired, as they have hit their ceilings and are only holding Ippo, Itadaki and himself back. However, when they returned to the gym, he saw Aokimura again. To make sure nothing bad happens to them, he gave Aoki his blessings by pulling down his pants and giving him something definitely small. The Itadaki family went out to eat with Itadaki's prize money and ended up in Saeki's shop. There, Itadaki and Saeki made up and Saeki revealed that he is now retired. He even had an inner monologue where he expressed his hope to see Itadaki battling with Ippo in the near future. Ippo was in Kamogawa's office when Kamogawa revealed that it's time for Ippo to reach the world stage and fight a high-ranked boxer to then challenge Ricardo Martinez. The fighter Ippo will have to face is the second-ranked world boxer Alfredo Gonzalez. Ippo will soon face Alfredo Gonzalez in an intense battle, but we'll dive into that fight in a future video. If you have enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more Hajime no Ippo content. I'm the Reading Pro and thanks for watching.